Welcome back to Fast Market here on the TD Ameritrade Network. Let's bring in our next guest for our cash tag segment, and that's going to be Andy Swan, the co-founder at LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, three guys talking about Lululemon here ahead of earnings. Stock's relatively flat this year, and I've noticed a lot of analysts coming out lower in their price targets. Most of them keeping buys on it, but this is a business that has really high margins compared to its competitors. What kind of data are you guys seeing at LikeFolio? Is it commensurate with the fact that, hey, a lot of these analysts have been cutting estimates because last quarter they had a really big inventory problem?
Yeah, they had a big inventory problem, and what's interesting is that since the end of that last quarter, I think analysts have consistently raised, revenue expectations while simultaneously decreasing earnings expectations. So I think the consensus out there is that Lululemon will continue to feel pressure on margins. What we can say at LikeFolio when we look at consumer data. First, the good news for Lululemon, I think they're on the right side of kind of that delineation line in terms of the consumer because they're going after the high-end, high quality, more expensive apparel market. There's a big divide that's happening right now. The lower end really getting crushed. People aren't really looking to shop for new clothes as much. They're making do with what they have. People at the higher end of the income or spending spectrum really aren't feeling that pressure and are continuing to go out there and buy things. So that definitely benefits Lululemon from a macro perspective, but the other thing that's good for Lulu right now, I think, is Q4. We saw some pretty good traction in their holiday quarter. We saw purchase intent mentions up 8 to 10%, pretty much in line with what analysts expect from a revenue perspective on this quarter. I think they're going to report a good number for Q4. What I'm worried about is the current quarter underway. We're seeing significant slowdown that really started in February with the entire apparel market. So we think it's going to be tough for Lululemon to come out with really exciting guidance for this quarter or for the full year. And that's kind of the recipe that we've seen a lot of times from a lot of companies this season on earnings is, look, we had a great quarter. We printed a big number for Q4, but going forward, we're a little bit cautious, and that can send stocks lower really quickly. So overall for Lululemon, we have a bearish outlook going into this report. We think Q4 number will be fine. The headline number will be fine, but it's always about that confidence in the call, that confidence in the outlook, and we think it's going to be tough for them to be overly confident moving forward.
Andy, remember when we reported on this in 2019, they came out with their 5-year plan, the Power of Three, where they were going to double digital revenue, double men's revenue, and quadruple international revenue. Well, they've hit all those numbers already. That was a 5-year plan. Yeah. They've already hit all those, right? They hit the first two in 2021. They hit the international one last year. This is a company, but your data, for the first time that I remember in you coming to us with Lululemon data, is a bit alarming. When you're losing to Under Armour used to be the darling, and then they went to the trash bin in terms of apparel. Now Under Armour is better than Lulu. I mean, I see Nike regaining its leadership. I get that. Vori is one of those new companies that's probably very small. But what do you make of the fact that Lululemon's numbers are actually lower?
Yeah, just to be clear on this chart, to make sure everybody understands, this is the change in consumer happiness over the past year. So Lulu was really starting from a very, very high starting point.
Okay.
But the fact is they have dropped off in terms of consumer happiness fairly considerably. I'm not sure I used the word alarming, but it is troubling, to say the least, that their competitors are catching up to them. The other thing that we're really seeing is a lot of chatter, a lot of search around, getting Lululemon duplicates or Lululemon knockoffs. So I think people are looking for the same style, quality, and look at a potentially cheaper price, which again is another pressure point on Lululemon's margins as they report this quarter and look forward to 2023.
Yeah, Gap and Abercrombie & Fitch are coming out with Lululemon knockoffs.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Athleta brand is one of their
Yes.
competitors at a lower price entry point. Maybe the quality's not as good either,
Right.
but this has kind of been that retail theme that we've seen over the last several months, Andy, is the fact that people are trading down, and that hurts Lululemon because it's such a premium priced product. But when you look at this company, just moving forward, in your trends that you guys have seen and covered in the apparel industry here, as far as your data goes, things change relatively quickly. Could this be the start, do you think? Or is this just maybe a blip that, hey, maybe people are turning away from wearing, leggings everywhere they go anymore? People are going back into the office more. Could this be a trend or just maybe a blip for Lulu?
Yeah, it's really difficult to separate what is a blip from the beginning of a new trend, and I think you hit on something really important there. So we're going to continue to watch the data on this very closely. I do think going into this report, we have to be concerned about the company's ability to have a truly optimistic outlook, and the fact that their consumer happiness is sliding is definitely troubling as well.
All right. Do you have an earnings score on this one? You said your data is relatively negative at this point.
Yeah, we're bearish on this going into this report. It doesn't help, that the stock has rallied 10% in the last 13 days. We think there's probably just some to come off there. But, long term, this is one of the best companies in the world. So, if you're a long-term Lululemon investor, I'm not throwing up any big red flags. I just think that the risk on this report is probably to the downside.
Yeah, and valuations on this company is always relatively higher compared to peers in this space due to that margin that they have. All right, great stuff as always, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.